Britain's dirty move, recognizing Palestine to screw Israel. In a bold move that could reshape Middle Eastern geopolitics, the United Kingdom has issued a stern ultimatum. It will acknowledge Palestine as a sovereign state unless Israel urgently implements measures to halt the dire circumstances in Gaza. This declaration comes as international frustration escalates over the ongoing conflict in the region. But here's where it gets controversial. The UK's stance hinges on Israel agreeing to an immediate ceasefire to end the violence that has ravaged Gaza. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's office articulated a trio of demands on Tuesday: an immediate cessation of hostilities, continuous humanitarian aid facilitated by the UN to avert a humanitarian disaster, and the swift release of hostages held in the conflict zone. Tragically, out of the 50 hostages, 28 are feared deceased. The human cost of this conflict is staggering, with over 60,000 Palestinians having lost their lives since the onset of Israel's military operations in October 2023, according to Gaza's health ministry. The situation has deteriorated to such an extent that the leading global authority on food scarcity has warned of a potential famine scenario unfolding in Gaza. The British government has set a deadline for its recognition of Palestine, planning to make the announcement at the United Nations General Assembly in September, should Israel fail to meet these conditions. The humanitarian crisis has worsened since Israel terminated a ceasefire with Hamas in March, severely restricting aid flow into Gaza. The UK's critique extends to Israel's management of aid distribution, which has been scaled down significantly, now managed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation with American backing. This shift has been met with widespread condemnation, particularly as reports emerge of children being fatally shot as they attempted to access aid. This statement by British Foreign Secretary David Lammy at the UN underscores the global dismay at these developments. Echoing Britain's sentiment, French President Emmanuel Macron also declared last Thursday that France would recognize Palestine, a move that aligns with over 140 other nations. This stance by Britain and France, historically staunch supporters of Israel following the Hamas-led attacks on October 7, 2023, marks a significant pivot in their foreign policy. The U.S. has already voiced its disapproval, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio labeling France's decision as reckless and accusing it of bolstering Hamas propaganda, amidst internal pressures from his party. Starmer has revisited the long-standing British position on Palestinian statehood, which has traditionally been conditional and without a clear timeline. This announcement followed a strategic meeting with his cabinet to discuss a new European-led peace initiative aimed at enhancing aid delivery to Gaza. Public support in the U.S. for Israel's military actions in Gaza has seen a notable decline, with a recent Gallup poll indicating that only about one-third of Americans currently endorse the military operations, a sharp fall from earlier in the conflict. This shift in public opinion could be a turning point in how international policies are shaped moving forward. What do you think about the UK's ultimatum to Israel? Is this a justified stance or a strategic misstep? Share your views in the comments below. UK to recognize Palestine by September if Israel ignores ceasefire. Starmer's ultimatum explained. In a bold move that could spark differing opinions, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced on Tuesday that the United Kingdom will recognize a Palestinian state if Israel does not agree to a ceasefire and move toward peace in Gaza by September. This announcement came just a day after Starmer met with President Donald Trump in Scotland, where they discussed the Israel-Hamas war and the hunger crisis in Gaza. Starmer made it clear that the UK Recognition of a Palestinian state is contingent on Israel taking substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution. He also emphasized that Hamas must immediately release all the hostages, sign up to a ceasefire, disarm, and accept that they will play no part in the government of Gaza. Trump declined to endorse Starmer's move, stating that it doesn't mean I have to agree. Meanwhile, Israel's foreign ministry rejected Starmer's announcement, arguing that it constitutes a reward for Hamas and harms efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza and a framework for the release of hostages. This announcement comes at a time when the humanitarian and hunger crisis in Gaza is a major concern. Trump publicly broke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on claims about Hamas falsifying a hunger crisis in Gaza, stating that those children look very hungry. The U.S. has also been actively working to secure aid for Gaza, with Trump noting that the U.S. spent $60 million on the issue in recent days. But here's where it gets controversial. Starmer's announcement has been met with mixed reactions, with some praising it as a step toward peace and others criticizing it as a reward for Hamas. What do you think? Is Starmer's move a bold step toward peace or a misguided reward for Hamas? Let us know in the comments. UK to recognize Palestinian state. Israel's ceasefire conditions. Global reactions explained. Imagine a world where the fate of an entire nation hangs in the balance and the clock is ticking. This is the harsh reality of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, where the UK's recent announcement to recognize Palestine as a state in September, unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire and other conditions, has sent shockwaves around the globe. But here's where it gets controversial. The move has been met with fierce opposition from Israel, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claiming it rewards Hamas's monstrous terrorism and punishes its victims. As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is clear. The UK's decision has sparked a heated debate about the future of the Middle East. So what does this mean for the region? And what are the implications of the UK's move? Let's dive in and explore the complexities of this issue. The UK's conditions for recognizing Palestine as a state are clear. Israel must agree to a ceasefire, allow the UN to restart aid supplies, commit to a long-term peace process, and guarantee that the occupied West Bank will not be annexed in the future. But Israel is unlikely to meet these conditions, given its current government's stance on the two-state solution. In fact, the Israeli finance minister has been vocal about his hopes of annexing land that Palestinians want for a state, making it even more challenging to reach a peaceful resolution. The U.S. has also weighed in on the issue, with President Donald Trump stating that the U.S. has no view on Palestinian statehood, while also suggesting that recognition could be seen as rewarding Hamas. But what about the UK's motivations behind this move? Is it a genuine attempt to broker peace? Or is it simply a political maneuver? The answer lies in the fact that hundreds of MPs had urged the UK government to recognize Palestine as a state, with many arguing that it's a crucial step towards a two-state solution. The UK's Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has also been addressing the UN General Assembly, reiterating the UK's commitment to recognizing Palestine as a state unless Israel meets the conditions. As the international community watches with bated breath, the question on everyone's mind is, what's next? Will Israel agree to the conditions, or will the UK recognize Palestine as a state in September? The outcome is far from certain, but one thing is clear. The fate of the Middle East hangs in the balance, and the world is waiting with anticipation. And this is the part most people miss: the human cost of the conflict. The images of starving children in Gaza, the devastation and the loss of life are a stark reminder of the urgency of the situation. It's not just a political issue. It's a humanitarian crisis that demands attention and action. So, what can be done to bring about a peaceful resolution? The answer lies in a combination of diplomacy, compromise, and a commitment to human rights. The UK's move to recognize Palestine as a state is a step in the right direction, but it's only the beginning. The international community must come together to support a two-state solution and to ensure that the rights of both Israelis and Palestinians are respected. As we move forward, it's essential to remember that the conflict is not just about politics. It's about people's lives, and it's up to us to make a difference. But here's the million-dollar question. Will the UK's move be enough to bring about a lasting peace, or will it simply be a drop in the ocean? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. The world is watching. And the people of the Middle East deserve our attention and support. So, let's keep the conversation going. What do you think about the UK's decision to recognize Palestine as a state? Do you think it's a step in the right direction, or is it a misguided move? Share your thoughts, and let's work together to bring about a more peaceful and just world.